Hello all. In this video, we'll basically talk about state file in Terraform, what is state file and why it is actually needed. So basically, I will explain you with an example. Supposedly, if we create an instance in AWS using Terraform, so when you first create it, then you want to supposedly change its name using the same configuration file. So how will the Terraform know that it has to create a new instance or just update the name of the previous instance which you created? That happens because of state file, right? Because state file basically stores the state of your infrastructure in the state file. So when you apply the Terraform or execute the Terraform apply command second time, basically it has a base to compare to, right? It compares with that it has already created an instance. At this time, it just needs to change its name, right? I will explain this to you with an example, right? So first of all, what I will do is I try to create an instance. For that, I will first of all create a main.tf file here, which I've already created. I just need to update its content, right? I've already created it. So basically, I first of all what I did is I created a provider block. I've been creating this instance in AWS. I've provided the region for that, and I provided the resource block that where I provided the resource type name. I'm creating an AWS instance, so this is the resource type name. This is the name of the instance, which or resource you can say, which will be I will be using. This is not the name which you'll see in the AWS console. This is just to refer this resource in this configuration file. I provided the T2 micro instance type here. I provided the AMI ID and I provided the name to this instance, my EC2. So I haven't created this. Correct. So so as you can see, currently there is no state file in this directory. State file will automatically get created when I will or execute the Terraform apply command. Then basically it will store the state or information of my current infrastructure. So basically it is asking me to or approve it. So basically what will it do? It will create an instance for me with this name, my EC2 name which I provided in my main.tf file. Then I will show you if I want to change the name of that instance. As you can see, this is being created. My EC2 instance is being created currently. As you can see, it has been created. As you can see, I provided this name only, my EC2 name, and this is, as you can see, it is present here. As you can see, my state file is also has been created. Right? Basically, it does store my information for my current infrastructure. Now, what I need to do is this is my main.tf file. Using this configuration file only, I want to make a change in the instance which I just created. I just want to change its name. Then using the same configuration file, then how will I do it? I will just edit this file, right? Supposedly, right, I will my EC2 instance new name. I can say this, right? And if I then apply or execute the Terraform apply command, it will not create a new instance. It will just change the current instance name. But how did my Terraform know that it does not have to create a new instance or change its name? It compares it with the state file. As you can see, the execution path for that. It says nothing, there is nothing to add, there's only something to change. So because it compared it with my state file, that's why it is showing that if I approve it, as you can see, its name will be changed here. It will take some time, minute or so. As you can see, this has been changed. This only happened because there was a state file for it. As you can see, a state file was created. This backup of the state file is also getting created automatically. This creates automatically, right? So basically, that's the purpose of the state file. It actually stores the current state of your infrastructure so that whenever the next time you make some changes, it has something to compare with. That's the basic idea for it. But you have your so I have come done with what is state file and why it is needed. But now comes the in picture, where do you store the state file? As you can see, the state file has been stored on my system locally, right? But there is some problem storing this state file locally. Suppose if you have a team of say 5 people, right? So obviously you will be storing your code on your GitHub, say, right? Remotely, not on your local system. So what you will do is you have a state file also on your GitHub, right? So you will clone it, make some changes, your state file gets changed, right? Obviously, you have changed your infrastructure, your state file has changed. What you cloned from GitHub, so it has been changed on your local system. Your state file has been changed, and you forgot to push it on your GitHub, right? And if you forgot to push it on your GitHub, somebody else clones that repository. So you have changed the infrastructure, right? Your state file has been changed, but you forgot to push it on the GitHub. And other person just clones it from the GitHub, and it has the state file is inconsistent with your current infrastructure, what you actually have, right? So that's where the problem lies, right? So for that, the solution is you need to have a remote backend, right? You need to store your state file on a remote backend. That's what I have actually explained here too. When you store the state file locally, there is a risk that the state can be changed locally without being pushed to the version control systems like GitHub. What I actually told you. If a change is made locally but not synchronized with the team, this can create inconsistencies. Right? What I explained you. So for that purpose, what you need to do is you need to have an suppose in this I will explain you that with an example. I will try to store my state file on an S3 bucket. So to do that, I will first of all create an S3 bucket. Right? I will make some changes here so that I can have my S3 bucket. So obviously to store your state file on an S3 bucket, I need to create an S3 bucket, right? So I will be creating an S3 bucket through Terraform only. The resource type name is S3, S3 bucket there, and the name I could give here is S3 bucket. Oh, sorry, S3 bucket. I need to give a bucket name here too. This must be unique, otherwise it will create a problem for us. So as you can see, I will give a very unique name to it. And I will also be needing a DynamoDB table. Why it will be needed? I will explain you in end of this video. But let me first of all create that so that it gets created for us. Let its name be Terraform lock. Right. The name I will take is Terraform lock. And billing mode, I need to specify the paper request. Paper request. Hash key, take it as ID. This I need to also define this attribute, right? The name I can take is block ID, and the type is string only. So basically, here I have defined a single attribute log ID as a string, which also serves as the table's primary key, right? Because this shows this also serve as the table's primary key. So I will copy this and changes are done in my main.tf file. I will be creating a bucket with this name. If that doesn't exist, then only it will be created. Otherwise, it will just give me an error because the S3 bucket name should be unique globally. And I will also be creating a DynamoDB table. Why am I creating this? I will explain you in later in my video in the end. Right now, just to make that, I should have done this command. I think it will take some time to create both resources for me. As you can see, it is so it will ask for approval. I need to approve that a bucket and table will be created, right? It will take some time. As you can see, my both the resources has been created. But I have created my S3 bucket, but I need to store it on my state file on my S3 bucket, right? That's why I created it. So I will be creating another file for that just to have my backend configured. First of all, I need to create a backend.tf file, right? So just to create my backend.tf file, my backend will be taking as S3. The bucket name which I will be taking is which I just created earlier. And the bucket name was a bucket name from here which I just created earlier. And the key value, this will be basically the actual file name which I will be having. The Mohit will be the folder name, and this is basically your state file name. And you are also specifying the location for that and the region where this bucket is present. And I also have created the DynamoDB table in my, as you have seen in my main.tf file, and the name I took was Terraform log. So basically, this file is just backend.tf file is just for. So basically, I will be to copy this in my backend.tf file. As you have seen, can see I have backend configured my S3 bucket as a backend just to store my state file. As you can see, key here. I have specified the region also. Then after creating my backend.tf file, you again have to initialize that my directory with command terraform in it. It is initializing my backup because you have changed some, you have configured your backend again. That's why. Yes, you can see uh, pre-existing state was found while migrating the previous local backend to the newly configured S3 backend. So basically, it is asking me that you have your state file. Would you want me to copy this state to your S3 backend now? Because S3 backend I have created just now. So yes, I want to copy that. Yes, if using successfully configured the backend S3, Terraform will automatically use this backend unless the backend config has changed. You have created a new backend for yourself, right? Your Terraform state file is basically stored on your S3 bucket too. So now when you apply the Terraform apply command, it will automatically change the Terraform state file in your S3 bucket. Your state file is now stored remotely on the back S3 bucket, right? So there will be no chance of an inconsistency now, right? But there is an another issue. Now I will explain you why did I created the Dynamo DB table. I created the Dynamo DB table because supposedly there are two people doing the changes, right? One change the person is doing will take 1 hour. Other change the person will be doing is say 10 minutes, right? So one person starts the changes, right? It will executing the Terraform apply command, right? So what will happen is it is he's doing the changes right currently. So also he'll be using the state file as a base and making changes on that, right? And the other person is also using the same state file as I showed you. You have your state file stored on your remote backend. Exactly right. So the second person does the changes in 10 minutes. So obviously he does changes the state file. And at the same time, the other person is also doing the changes, right? But he had a state file which was before he did the second person did the changes. So his state file is inconsistent now. So yes, basically that the issue will happen if multiple people uses the same state file. There could be some inconsistencies, right? So to resolve that, we are creating a DynamoDB table. What will happen is if the one person is using the state file, it will basically lock the state file. The other person at the same time can't use that state file. So for that purpose only, we have created a DynamoDB table. It will have a primary key of log ID, which I showed you earlier. As you can see, this has the primary key of log ID. It will basically create a lock on our state file so that two people at the same time can't use our state file so that there will be no inconsistencies. Right? I can also show you if I make some changes in my main.tf file. If one person is showing some change, supposedly I will creating another resource, right? So I will create another resource. Obviously, I'm will just change the name for it. My EC2 instance say. So I'm creating another instance, right? So obviously, if I apply the Terraform apply command here, it will ask me to approve. Okay, I need to change the name to say I will take this as instance 2. Then I will apply the Terraform or execute the Terraform. So now what I will do is I will write the Terraform apply command. So after applying or executing the Terraform apply command, it will acquire a state log on our state file. So nobody else can use this state file until and unless we release the log on the state file. I can show you that if some another user say try to access this state file or try to do some changes, he will be not be able to do it. As you can see, if I just run the Terraform apply command from here, I will not be able to do it. It will say that this state file is locked. So that's why we will not be able to do it. It will take some time. Yeah. As you can see, error acquiring the state lock, right? And if we release or say this is asking for approval, if we I will give him approval and this Terraform apply is completely executed and the infrastructure is modified or created, then then only the lock on your state file will get released, right? After that, basically, once this gets created, after that, you can easily apply the command here because the lock on your state file is now removed, right? Other user can use that state file. So in this way, you probably avoid inconsistencies in your state file. As you can see, this Terraform apply is completely executed. My resources have been created or modified what I did, right? Now, if you apply the Terraform apply command here, obviously we have applied or executed the changes or made the changes. Nothing will be done here, but the command will run. That's what I'm trying to show you exactly because the lock on the state file has been released. As you can see, we are able to run the command. So yeah, in that way, using a DynamoDB table, we can acquire a lock on our state file so that we can avoid inconsistencies in our state file. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.